This is Packet Tracer 10312 and it's Skill Integration Challenge. So here's your topology, your addressing table, and your VLAN ports. We're going to go ahead and get started. Alright, so the first step says create VLANs on S2 and assign VLANs to appropriate ports. Names are case sensitive. So we're going to start out with S2, and it's kind of hard to see, but it's right here. You go into your CLI. Okay, we're going to hit enter and then enter configuration mode. So here's the VLANs right here that they want you to create. So we got VLAN 10, 20, and 30, and 40. And I got the commands in here for you guys, the ones in red. So we're just going to type what it says right here. We're going to start with VLAN 10. So we're going to type in VLAN 10, enter. Oh, hold on. VLAN 10. Okay. And now you want to type in the name. And now you want to type in name. So we're going to name it, and they want it to be called cells right here. VLAN 10 is going to be named cells. So type cells, enter. And you got to make sure you go along and do exactly what they want with the name. If it's case sensitive, if it has a capital letter, you have to put the capital letter in, or else you'll get it wrong. We're going to go to the next one, which is VLAN 20. So we're going to type in VLAN 20, enter, name and its production, enter. Next one is VLAN 30, and the name is going to be marketing. Next VLAN is 40, and this one's going to be called HR. So name, HR. Alright, so now we're going to assign the ports to the VLANs. If you see right here, it says FA05 through 09. So we're going to go into the interface. So type in INT for interface, and then a range of interfaces. So we type in range, FA, and then the ports, which are 0, 5 through 9. Enter. And you want to type in switch, port, mode, access, switch, port, mode, access. And now type in the VLAN that we're going to assign it to. So it's going to be switch port mode and then the VLAN. Switch port, mode, then VLAN 10. Try that one more time. Oh, no. You see what I did is I put mode. It has to be switch port access. Access, VLAN 10. Okay. So now we're going to go on to the next one, which is VLAN 20. And this one is going to be FA010 through FA14. And then I'm just going to keep going down the line. So I'm going to kind of speed through these. So next port is going to be INT range FA0/10 space 14. Enter. Switch port mode access. Switch port access VLAN 20. And then the next one, INT range interface range FA 0/15 space dash 19. Enter. So now we do switch port mode access, switch port access VLAN 30. Enter. So now we're going to do it again for our last port. This one's going to be FA 020 space dash 24. Enter. Switch port mode access, switch port access VLAN 40. So that's how it should look like. That's pretty much what all of this is right there. Now we're going to do interface range 1 through 4 as chunking. FA 0/1 dash 4, and then switch port mode chunk. Okay, so this will allow the ports to be used as chunk. So this will allow the ports to be used as chunking ports. And now we're gonna put do WR. So I'll copy the configuration, build it. So now we're going to configure all the ports as access ports. So we're going to do int FA 0-15 or 5-24 because those are the ports that are in use. And then G0/1 through 2. Enter. Yeah, I forgot to type in range. So int range. Just like that. And now type in switch port mode access. And now DOWR, so I'll build the configuration again. Now it says configure R1 to route between VLANs. Sub interface name should match the VLAN number. So we're going to go to R1, CLI. Okay, enter configuration mode, enconf t. And then we're going to start with the interface G00. So int G0/0 dot 10. Okay, and we're doing this because they want to name the sub interfaces the same as a VLAN. So we're going to create a VLAN. We're going to create sub interfaces for each VLAN that we have here. So there's going to be a .10, a .20, a .30, and a .40. Okay, just like right here, .10, 20, 30, and 40. Then later on, we'll probably assign the IP addresses. All right. So once we created the sub interface, now we have to do encapsulation. So we're gonna type in encapsulation .1Q, capital Q, and then the number of the interface, which is 10, of the VLAN, the number of the VLAN, which is 10, and misspelled encapsulation. Forgot an I. There we go. After we do that, we assign the IP address. So we're gonna type in IP address, and then you look up the IP address on the topology. But right here is 172.31.10.1, and then space. The subnet mask is gonna be 255.255.255.254. Enter. And that's not the right mask. Alright, so I typed in the IP address and the subnet mask, and it said it was a bad subnet mask. I meant to put a 2, but I put a 5 instead. So once you get the right IP address, you just type it in, and it should look like that. Okay, I'm going to go back down here. And now we're going to continue with the next interface. So it's going to be int G0/0 dot, and we just did 10, so now we're on 20, so .20. Enter. So always do encapsulation .1Q, and then the number, which is going to be 20. And now we're going to do the IP address. So 172.31.20.1. Then the subnet mask 255.255.255.240. Enter. And I forgot to put address. Messing up quite a bit today. Sorry about that. Alright, next interface. G0, or next sub interface. It's going to be .30 for our VLAN 30. So encapsulation .1Q. and then 30. Enter now the IP address, which is going to be 172.31.30.1, and then subnet mask 255.255.255.128. Enter. Now our last sub interface is going to be int g0/0.40 for VLAN 40, and do the encapsulation .1q and then 40. Now the IP address, so 172.31.40.1, and then subnet mask 255.255.255.192. Enter. All right, now we're going to do exit, and then int g0/0. So this will access the whole interface, including the sub interfaces, and we're going to do a no shut command so that all our interfaces are up and working. There you see it says change state to up. All right, so now we're going to create a DHCP pool for each VLAN, and the names are case sensitive. We're going to go to R1 enconf t. I'm going to type in IP DHCP excluded dash address, and then the IP addresses 172.31.10.0 space 172.31.10.10. Enter. Okay. Now I'll type in IP DHCP pool VLAN in capital letters _10. Enter. All right. Now the network, you can type in network 172.31.10.0, and then subnet mask is 255.255.255.224. Enter. And the default router, default-router, the address for that is 172.31.10.1. Enter. Now the DNS server 209.165.201.14. Enter. Okay, next step is IP DHCP excluded dash address 172.31.20.1, and then 172.31.20.10. Enter. Now IP DHCP pool VLAN _20, so that's VLAN 20. Now the network 172.31.21, and then subnet mask 255.255.255.240. Okay. Now the default router, default-router, and then the IP address is 172.31.20.1. Now the DNS server 209.165.201.14. Enter. And then IP DHCP excluded addresses. So this is for VLAN 30. 172.31.30.1, and then 172.31.30.10. Alright, there it goes. And then now we're going to type in IP DHCP pool VLAN underscore 30. We'll type in 30, enter. Now the network. So network 172.31.30.1, and then subnet mask 255.255.255.128. Enter. Okay. Default router dash router 172.2.31.30.1, and then the gateway, the subnet mask 255.255.128. Whoa, sorry, you don't put a default, or you don't put a subnet mask on the default router. So once you got the IP address, you hit enter, and I misspelled that. Okay, and then DNS dash server 209.165.201.14. Alright, now we're going to do VLAN 40, and it's IP DHCP excluded dash address. So it's going to exclude the addresses in between the IP addresses that we're giving it. So it's going to be 172.30.40.1, and then 172.31.40.40.10. Enter. Alright, now type in IP DHCP pool VLAN all capitals underscore 40. Enter. Now the network, and it's 172.31.40.1. Okay, now the subnet mask is 255.255.255.192. Okay, now what did I do wrong? Messing up quite a bit today. So I enter. Now we're going to do the default router. And it's going to be 172.31.40.1. Alright, now the DNS server 172.209.165.201.14. Enter. Alright, it took a while, but it's done now. Okay, so now it says configure DHCP to provide the default gateway addresses. So we're still in R1. We're going to type in default dash router 172.31.10.1. Okay, enter. Next one is default router 172.30.20.1. Enter. And now next one's going to be 30.1 for VLAN 30, and then 40.1. Okay. It says configure DNS server 209.165.201.14 for each pool. So type in DNS dash server, then the IP address, which is 209.165.201.14. Enter. Alright. So prevent the first 10 addresses from each pool from being distributed to end devices. Alright, so now it says verify that each PC can. Now it says verify that each PC has an address assigned by the correct DHCP pool. So we're going to exit out of here. Going to go each one of the PCs. And then we're going to go to the desktop, the IP configuration, and then we're going to click on DHCP. And it should automatically get the IP, the subnet mask, the gateway, and the DNS server. And if you did it all correctly, it'll say DHCP request successful, just like that right there. So now we're going to go to PC2 and do the same thing. So let's see, wait for it to load. Okay, there it is. PC3. Just click on the DHCP button. Successful. PC4. And then that one was successful as well. Alright. Now it said DHCP addresses assigned may take some time. Click fast forward to speed up the progress. Didn't take too long for us. It says configure R1 as a DHCP client so that it receives an IP address from an ISP network. So now we're going to go to R1. Going to exit out of here. Type in int g0/1. And now type in IP address DHCP. So now it'll automatically get a IP address from the ISP, which is the internet service provider. So the last step says verify all devices can now ping each other and www.cisco.pka. So to do this, we're going to take the packets, and then it might not work on this first try, but it should work on the second one. So first one says failed. Let's try it one more time. Second one says successful. Okay. Let's try it again. So that was PC1 to PC2. Let's try PC1 to PC3. First one says failed. Now the second one says successful. Alright, PC4. First one says failed. There it is. First one says failed. The second one says successful. Okay. Alright, so it should just look like this down here. Successful. And yeah, that's it.